We are live. Welcome to another installment of the Final Scoop podcast. My name is Robert Schinetsky, the supplement engineer. Joining me, as always, is my international band of brothers, Shane Smith, Stack3D.com, Lukasz Rytkowski, Prometeus Intelligent Sports Technology, Robert Samborsky, Apollon Nutrition. For those of you tuning in on the live feed, thank you for joining us for this live session. If you have any comments, questions, queries, quips, smart aleck remarks, feel free to post them up in the comments section. We will address each and every one of these during our podcast here this afternoon. If it seems like we're ignoring your question, I guarantee we're not. Sometimes the YouTube little comment feeder gets a little glitchy, so just keep entering it and make sure you keep the comments kind of short and concise, because the longer ones, it tends to chop that off. So yeah, thank you for joining us. If you like what we're doing here, give us a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast with family, friends, and loved ones, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or your preferred podcast listening platform of choice.
Or just share a status update and say we're awesome.
We are awesome. Yes, we are. Thank you guys for joining me as always for this weekend. Let's before we hit the record button, we were having some banter about the Olympia since the Friday night. The prejudging for the open bodybuilding was last night, but then we also had the 212 crowned and several of the women's categories. So let's start there. Well, how do you guys feel the judging went in the show? First off,
the Friday night, Saturday morning show.
Yeah, it was very, very. That was, I think, a common gripe, and I remember watching it. Shoot, I didn't go to the Olympia this year, but probably back in 2016, I was watching it, and man, it drug on. This is when it was being broadcast on Amazon, and it started at 7 o'clock at night. I don't think they crowned the Olympia champion until like past midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that.
Usually the second night is long. The first night's never usually this long.
I remember I attended actually the very first Mr. Olympia, and I've been to almost all of them. I think I missed maybe 3 or 4 since 1998. I was there for the first time that Ronnie Coleman was crowned Mr. Olympia. I came to the States in 97, and in 98 they had it in Madison Square Garden. So that was the first year that, I went to see it. And, I can only tell you that, it was packed. Madison Square Garden was absolutely packed. And, ever since, it was like the attendance definitely has gone down quite a bit. I mean, this year it doesn't count. From my perspective about last night, I think this was the closest to me personally being in total agreement with the judges. I mean, here or there, like few placings maybe. Like, Lukasz and I actually went back and forth and we discussed about Sean Clarida and Kamal, and it played out exactly as we said. It was 1 point difference. I looked at the score sheets. It was 1 point difference. It honestly could have gone to Kamal, but I think that Sean deserved the win because the changes that he's made in the last year. Not only that, we all have like opinions about bodybuilders that we see on social media, and some of them, because we are in the industry, we know them personally. But we have to take that aside and judge what we see. And I think that the judges definitely got it right, because I think Sean deserved to win, and he was absolutely amazing. But, something that got me to think is that we have the top 2 guys that arguably shouldn't have been even in a discussion of winning. Nobody would ever expect Sean to win a few years ago, or Kamal. So you have a guy who is less than 180 pounds on stage, winning the Mr. Olympia, and the runner-up, who was a champion last year, is almost 50 years old. By all accounts, neither one of them should be even top 6. And then you have Peterson, who should be beating both of them. And you have Derek Lunsford, who should be beating both of them ever since placing second to Flex Lewis when he was amazing. But I think, like, finally, I was thinking, like, what the hell? Like, why those guys can't win? And it was shocking that Sean beat Peterson in a back comparison. That was absolutely shocking, because if you go on social media, on Instagram, and you look at Peterson's back, even off season when he's not even in shape, that back is just like Ronnie Coleman back. That back is absolutely amazing. And by comparison, it looked very, very shallow. And I think I finally kind of figured out the reason for that. And I think that those guys are too big for the division. I think both Peterson and I think Derek is getting, because he's young, he's still building muscle. I think they're just too big, and they have to make the weight. They have to make 212. I think that they're dropping way too much weight, and that has to do with depletion. It has to do with diuretics, obviously, and that sucks a lot. It kind of brings away from the pop in the muscle. It can soften you up quite a bit as well and make you smaller because, I mean, Peterson, his legs did not match his upper body, and his back was just good, but wasn't like great like it usually is. And I think Derek is probably sacrificing a lot of size to make the weight. Because if you look at Flex Lewis when he was dominating for 7 years, for the last couple of years, every time Flex Lewis would post a picture 3-4 weeks out, he would look even better than when he would win. He would look like probably he was about 10-15 pounds heavier than 212, and he looked amazing. But Flex Lewis had a lot more muscle maturity, and I think that he could sacrifice a little bit of size and still dominate. I think Peterson, and honestly, I thought Derek didn't even deserve to be top 4. I honestly didn't think he was just, his conditioning was so poor that I think that he didn't deserve to be top 4. I think he should have placed a lot lower than that. But other than that, I think that Sean deserved the win. That was great. And, the men's open, I think that politics aside, because they are present in bodybuilding, everybody knows. I mean, the way that, just before we started the recording, Lukasz said that he liked the fact that they kept rotating them and putting them through mandatories. And I do agree, because when Phil came out first, I actually thought that he looked very good. I honestly thought when he came out that he looked very good. When they started comparing him with others, and the more he was posing, I think he was starting to fade away more and more and more. And Rami came out and he looked good. As he was posing, I thought he was getting actually better and better. And if you look, in the beginning, the judges would only compare Phil and Brandon Curry. They were in the center, just the two of them. Rami was actually on the outside. He wasn't that center. And then as the prejudging went on, they basically put Rami in the center, and they were comparing then Phil, and they were comparing Brandon to Rami, as he was the center of attention. They overlooked a little bit Hari Chopin, and they even kicked him out of top 6 in the beginning, and then they brought him back. So I think those comparisons, especially when those guys hold so much size, the more you pose throughout an hour or so, your body can literally change by the minute. You can look great, and then half an hour later you look absolutely terrible. And that's the reason why, I'm actually careful making prediction for tonight, because anything can happen. And I still don't think that Phil's going to look even remotely close to what he looked like at his best. But he was always notorious, especially for a couple of his last wins, that during prejudging he would not look very good, and then at the final he would just come and look spectacular. I think that the damage to his midsection I think it's permanent. I think there's nothing can be done, and something weird was going with his chest. He also looked narrow. In his most muscular, he was untouchable, and yesterday I thought Rami destroyed him in most muscular. And in the back double bicep or lat spread, I thought Brandon Curry also destroyed him in lat spread, which is unheard of. We didn't expect that. So it was, I think, one of the most interesting Mr. Olympia in years.
Well, Robbie, you were involved with NPC for a number of years. Give the listeners who may not have as much insight into the judging process and whatnot goes, why do they do a pre-judging, and why do they do a final judging, and how much shifting is there usually in the rankings between what happens on the pre-judging night and then the finals night?
Well, typically in NPC, specifically NPC, the pre-judging would be the show. If you win the pre-judging, you're pretty much done. There is, it's almost it's very uncommon for the night show to make any difference. The final was basically a performance for the audience in NPC. In bodybuilding, like in IFBB, the way it was supposed to be judged, it's symmetry, obviously. Symmetry round is very important, where, your upper body matches your lower body, and then you have a small waist, which is called that X frame that everybody's talking about. So that's very, very important. And then muscularity, obviously, that size and how big you are. then you're supposed also to judge the posing round, which is more of a final, because if you look at recent years, that was pretty much abandoned, and you didn't have beautiful posing routines like you used to have in the 80s. And if you remember Pumping Iron, Schwarzenegger actually used to take ballet lessons because, you know, they would be performing, so they would learn how to move and how to be very gracious on stage, and, you know, everything to flow. And you know, posing took a lot. Right now, posing rounds for the past couple of years, they were absolutely terrible. Those guys were not preparing. They would just pick music. They would hit just poses on stage, make a few stupid moves, and that's it. There was no choreography. There was nothing. But now, supposedly, as far as I know, they are rewarding for posing as well, which I think is very important. And I think Schwarzenegger was the main advocate for that saying that it's important, you know, to showcase the beauty of the, I don't know, some people argue whether it's a sport or art, but I mean, it's like a sculpture. I mean, you're presenting a sculpture and you have to be able to showcase it from the best possible angles. I mean, you look at Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Arnold. I mean, all those guys, they were amazing, amazing, amazing posers. King Kamali was an incredible dancer, and his breakdancing was absolutely amazing. People would be entertained. So those rounds also were judged, and a couple of times things would actually change where they would judge, you know, the judging and the finals, which is finals at night. So if you go back to 2001, after the pre-judging, Jay Cutler was winning by a point or two against Ronnie Coleman. That was when Ronnie Coleman was king. By the finals, Ronnie just came. I still think, in my opinion, that Cutler won that show. I thought that 2001, he was the rightful winner. But nevertheless, they gave the win to Ronnie, and they said that he came out more aggressive, like he really wanted it. And if you look at the finals, the posing routine, Jay was very boring. He wasn't confident. You know, he just went through the motions and that's it. Ronnie, I guess, knew he was losing, and he came guns blazing. He was so aggressive on stage. He was so aggressive during the pose down. He was basically, you know, chasing Jay and just making sure that he is more dominant. And he basically stole the show from Jay. So the night show can make a difference too. It all comes down to like how badly you want it, but at the end of the day, you still have to look a certain way. So the posing routine is not supposed to, just because you're a good dancer does not mean you're a good bodybuilder on that day. So it's still politics, society. It can be very, very subjective. Perfect example would be Brion and Bumstead in classic physique. Brion won the first two when it could literally go either way. And every time he would beat Bumstead, I think, by 1 point. And then last year, Bumstead beat Brion also by 1 point. Right. And, you know, there was an argument, like people were very, very divided because last year Bumstead was not in his best conditioning, but he just looks good just standing relaxed because his lines, his height, and his proportion, symmetry are just second to none. He literally looks like a classic physique. He won. I had Brion winning last year because Brion was just so well conditioned, and I think that should count for something, and so symmetrical. But judging by today's prejudging, I think Bumstead won without any problems. This is definitely the best Bumstead we've ever seen. He is just as conditioned, I think, as Brion. He improved his back. He basically did what Clarida did. He came in with insane improvements. Everybody was criticizing his back. I still think that Brion has a better back, but, you know, I mean, if you look at the width and everything, Bumstead definitely did his homework. His quads, I think that was really shocked me. Yeah, the masters probably helped too, but his quads look better than Brion's. His conditioning looks, his color is perfect. I just don't think that Brion can touch him this year. I think that pretty much, you know, Bumstead made a statement, and perhaps Brion needs to think about maybe 212, you know, and move up to that. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the judging is definitely, like, all those rounds supposedly supposed to be judged, and everything comes to play. In my opinion, Phil lost yesterday on all accounts. I mean, that's from what I saw. He lost the symmetry, even his legs were perhaps better than most of those guys, but the conditioning I didn't think was there, and I think he clearly lost. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes better tonight, but I still think it's not enough for him to win.
Yeah. Gotcha. Thanks for tuning in, Chris. Xanda and Dito chopping up trees and branches on a heaping scoop of assassin. That is intense. That's an intense pre-workout for yard work there. Shane, you said it was today's your rest day, so you took a little bit of caffeine in you. What are you sipping on for caffeine?
Not sipping on. I just throw it back.
What did you throw back then?
My morning serving of Fat Burner, which, if you remember 3 weeks ago, my recovery day coincided with an episode, and I was sweating my balls off halfway through.
Yep.
That is exactly what I've done again today. So we'll find out.
You're gonna start dabbing yourself with a handkerchief or something like that?
I don't know. I just get, if I'm not working out and I've taken it, I sweat way worse than when I'm actually in the gym. And the gym I go to is like, it's probably one of the most rugged ones in Auckland, and it's like a greenhouse effect kind of thing. It's got, it's not. I think the air conditioning is like 3 fans, and it's pretty rough. But I don't get that sweaty in there. But when I'm sitting still, just working, and I took the thermo, god damn it, that thing just is a core burn and core shred stacked together.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you. You're still running the core stack since you're in the midst of your cut.
Sure am. I'm down. I had a bit of a sticking point this past week, but I pushed through. The unfortunate part is Christmas is right around the corner, so I'm really annoyed. I don't want to ruin it, so I might just be having one bad meal. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. Lukasz, what are you running on today? Or it's nighttime here, but what were you running on this morning? I guess.
Yeah. It's almost like 8:30 here, p.m. So I'm just like laying low, and basically right now I'm sipping on the superhuman sleep combined with Pico 2. So there's always like.
What are you planning to run in your sleep?
Yeah, probably. Like 1.5 hours, but I forgot it's gonna be a busy night tonight because I'm probably gonna watch the entire Olympia once again. So yeah, but in the morning, me, 6 cups of overtime. It's my usual, and on top of that, half a scoop or like a scoop maybe of assassin as well. So.
Jesus. Do you notice any kind of do you still get the intense focus and mood uplift from over time when you take it as consecutively as you do?
Wait, we should add kids don't try this at home. Just
kids, please don't try this at home.
People don't try this at home.
Yeah, people don't try this at home. It's like a huge disclaimer. Don't try this at home.
And then have you tried any new goodies this week, Lukasz, as far as pre-workouts, intros, posts, proteins, anything like that? Anything crossed your threshold?
Let me think. You know what? I've been using Cream of Rice from CSN. It's like a company from UK.
Yep.
My good friend owns the brand, and he's producing it. And to be honest, I was never big a fan of a Cream of Rice, but since I started taking it and mixing up with kefir or yogurt, I'm really surprised how good it tastes and how it feels on my stomach. It's
yeah. Lukasz, is it flavored?
Yeah, it's flavored. It's pancake mix, pancake maple. Oh yeah, that's the flavor. So it's pretty nice, especially if you're like I said, if you combine it with yogurt or kefir or those kind of things. So yeah. But as far as other stuff, let me check. I've been also trying the Gut Joy from Man Sports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm using it in the morning. And to be honest, very good stuff. You know, it also keeps my bowel movement so on check. So yeah, that's important. So yeah, I'm not scared to say that. You know, so yeah, we are human.
I mean, keeping your bowel movements in check after you've taken 600 milligrams of caffeine when you wake up.
That's the thing. You know,
It's
first.
like trying to put out a stick of dynamite.
Oh man, that's
Tell you, if I had 600 milligrams when I
my
woke up,
bowels are like working on a perfect.
my bowels would be moving regardless of whatever probiotics I threw down. I can tell you that right now.
Shane, for Lukasz, that's like taking multivitamins.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
God damn.
So yeah, that's basically it. What about you, Robert?
Good deal. P. Pasmus, overtime is your friend. Yes, it is. It's amazing nootropic. Shameless plug, agreed. And Alan, heroic muscle checking in. 4 caps of overtime for me. That's a 2/3 dose. That's a heroic dose of overtime right there. Not super heroic dose, but it's a heroic dose right there.
Starter.
This podcast just improved. Of course it did. It just got better looking. You're trying to say, yep, exactly. Robbie, you held up a 3D can. What flavor is that? Freedom?
Liberty Pop.
Liberty Pop.
I don't
Okay,
like
yeah,
that
it had red,
one.
white, and blue on it. Figured it was something kind of like Bomb Pop, America Pop, something like that.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not my favorite. I actually tried from them something citrusy. What is it called, Shane?
The orange one?
No, it's citrus, right? Is it called citrus?
Oh, shit. They only just started putting names on it, but
Yeah, well,
the orange one.
yeah, it's like a lemon something,
What's
and
the color of the can?
I
Is it
forgot.
red?
No, it's
Silver.
Orange?
If it's, how
I
could
think
you not
it's-
remember the color of the can? That's the only fucking thing on there.
that's the thing. I'm fucking colorblind, but it's like doesn't help. But
I mean,
yeah,
it's bright as hell.
I think it's called citrus. I think so, but it was pretty good. It was like very, very similar to the one that Ghost has, which is also citrus something. But the one from 3D is much, much better.
Yeah, the 3D, if you're talking about the orange one, which again I can't remember, I don't know the color, but if the 3D, that one tastes just like Fanta. If you're the soft drink
Yeah,
soft soda
yeah,
Fanta, it
yeah.
tastes on point. I'm like, holy shit, they nailed
And
the hell out of it.
surprisingly, I you know what I was afraid? I was afraid it's going to be too sweet. It's not. It's just perfect.
I always find those non-natural flavors like blue raspberry, cherry, and freedom pop. They're always very artificial, and those are the ones that always tend to be quite sweet. I remember when I was in the UK and I was with Rays. I was hanging out with them at Body Power, and they had a couple guys coming through trying out the drinks, and then one of the guys, he was like, "What's your best one?" So they directed him to, I can't remember if it was the cherry one. I can't remember which one he tried. He tried one of them, and then the guys go, "Oh my god, this is way too." And then he was like, "Way too sweet and intense." I was like, "No," and I'm like, "Way too American." And he's like, "Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for." And it's just a very, yeah, over the top kind of flavor. I think you get that when you get further outside of the US. It's just a little bit different. But then I say European flavor is shit.
Americans love artificially super sweet, super nasty stuff.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
I cannot stand blue rise. I've never liked that flavor. It's gross. Although along the lines of the orange flavor, the C4 Energy, like the original C4 Energy drink, not the Smart Energy one, their
the
orange
Orange
slice flavor I really like. That reminds me of Crush or Fanta.
Yeah. So the C4 is another one that just nails the flavors.
Yeah.
So good. And they've been doing it for a while now too.
So damn good. Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
No.
Lukasz, you did a great job. Actually, I was very impressed with you calling that Sean would win the Olympia. That was very good. Yeah, yeah, that was impressive. You know, no, I saw like predictions by most people. Nobody predicted that. That was pretty cool.
I remember when we were talking with Drew, and I was like saying, to you guys that Sean, in my opinion, is gonna win it all, and you guys were like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "Nah. He sure did an amazing improvements in all areas,
You know why I didn't think that he would win? My take was because every year he was getting a little bit heavier,
Hmm.
and I really liked his look when he won the New York Pro. I think like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and he had this very small waist, and I thought that his waist was starting to get a little bit thicker because he's very short. So I thought that maybe if he's going to try to put on more size, that it's going to backfire. That was what was holding me back. But what really surprised me is that what he put on, because he put more weight for this Olympia, but it kind
Yeah.
of went to the right places. Like his legs got so much bigger and his back got so much thicker that I think the distribution of weight was just perfect, and he was just, yeah. So that was a very, very good call. But yeah, I mean, it worked out perfect for him.
Yeah, you know what? He reminds me of like a small version of Phil Heath. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Why?
you know what? I think he actually looked better than Phil Heath and I know a lot of people would not this Phil Heath, but from back. If you look at Phil Heath, he was
Yeah,
actually very narrow.
yeah,
But Sean, I mean, take him by himself, because when he stands next to other people, yes, of course he's smaller. But when you look at him by himself, somebody posted a picture. I think it was either muscular development, maybe flex, maybe Olympia, but somebody posted it on Instagram, and there is a picture of Sean from the back, and he's just standing by himself. So you can't tell that it's a short guy or anything like that. I swear, when I looked at it, I thought that it was like either Phil Heath in his prime or Ronnie Coleman. That's how impressive he looks from the back. It's just it's amazing the improvements that he made, and like I said, good for him. He deserved it.
definitely he deserved that. But at the end of the day, it was like, as you mentioned earlier, it was like a toss of a coin, and as far as like
Don't tell him to go louder.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm just reading, I'm just reading the comment that Pete just made. Hey, Pete, you can
Half
donate.
price.
Hey Pete, you can donate for us so we can play.
Donate to Lucas's internet fund.
Yeah, we need to do like some type of like a bank account or something. Pay us, bitch.
There we go. We're on long distance from Poland time, man. That's 8 hours away or 7 hours away from where we are in Texas, where I am in Texas.
Ooh, I wonder who's further away.
Probably, yeah. I guess New
I
Zealand.
think I might be. I think I might be further away.
Let's look that up real quick. Let's see.
I was about to. You look up Poland. I'll look up.
Yeah, but was your call as far as like other like competitors in the 212 division?
You know what?
2,500 miles.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave Henry slipped a lot, and when I looked at the picture, he was conditioned, but I think uh, because of the age, and doing it for such a long time, he looked like he definitely is smaller. I mean, from what I could see, he lost some of the size, and then from others that I know, obviously, Guy Cisterino, but honestly, that's exactly what I expected. Yeah, it's just like I said. I mean, the fact that you have Sean and Cabal as number one and number two, I think that this is very motivating for everyone. And from Sean's perspective, it shows that the fact that he's a short, small guy doesn't really matter as long as you committed and you put everything into it. And the fact that people are talking about age, well, I think, like, look at Kamal. That's he could have won. He could have, like, the argument could be made. But like I said, the 1 point, it's totally understandable why it's 1 point. But the guy is 49 years old, and he smoked guys, half his age, completely. I mean, he was absolutely amazing. I actually think that he also improved a little bit from last year. It's just that Sean improved so much more.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So
I was hoping Derek. I didn't think Sean would win because I still remember what Derek looked like 2 years ago.
When he plays second to flex?
And like he was pretty damn. He looked just phenomenal then. And then last year he missed it, so I was like, okay, like I have my hopes up this year because he's missed the mark. He must know he doesn't want to do that twice. And then he showed up, and I'm like, God damn it, dude! I had high hopes for that. That was like,
Well, because from a symmetry perspective and from the shape, he's the best, possibly the best guy on stage. He just has everything. He has legs, he has arms, he has back, he has everything. He has the X frame, he has a small waist, but he doesn't come in shape. That's the thing,
I mean, he did, but
when he
not the past 2 years.
Yeah, it just when he plays second to flex, even flex admitted like that this is the guy to beat. Nobody's going to be able to touch him. But the same thing, if you remember, I did think that one time in 2007, Victor Martinez deserved to beat Jay Cutler. That's when so they gave it to Jay, but again, Victor definitely deserved to win. But besides that, when I remember being at the press conference with Ronnie Coleman, maybe 2005 or 2006, no, probably 2004, and they said, when you're gonna retire, who do you think will win and who's going to be as dominant as you? And he said, it's easy answer, Victor Martinez. Because again, Victor Martinez had the shape. He had the shape to be like Ronnie Coleman. He had the shape to beat everybody. He definitely had the shape to beat Jay. But it brings you back to the same argument. If you look at Derek again, it's as close to Flex Lewis as possible in terms of shape. But you have to go all the way back to Dorian Yates. And when they asked Dorian Yates, like, you beating, he was not supposed to beat Kevin Levroni. He was not supposed to beat Sean Ray. He was definitely not supposed to beat Flex Wheeler. Those are the guys he was not supposed to beat because genetically they were just so, in terms of shape, they were so much superior than him. But he outworked them. He always came in shape. He dieted harder than them, and and I remember when Dorian said once, they asked him like, "Who do you think your biggest rival?" And he said Flex Wheeler, but he will not beat me. And they asked him why he's not going to beat you. He goes, because if we were running, he says Flex would be jogging and running comfortably to the finishing line, while I would be absolutely trying my best to beat him. He says either I would finish first or I would collapse trying. So I will always put that 110%. And I think that's the reason why, maybe one of the reasons why Sean Clarida beat somebody he's not supposed to beat. But there is also an argument that guys like Derek and guys like, Derek is very young, so he doesn't have the same muscle maturity. But, somebody like Derek probably still puts on weight because I've seen him in the off season. He's huge, so for him to diet down to make 212, I don't think it's that easy also. And maybe it's a lack of discipline. Maybe, there are so many factors that can go wrong.
How do you have the top three in the Open?
If I went based on prejudging yesterday, I would go.
Well, how you thought the prejudging went, then how you think the finals could go?
Prejudging, definitely. If I was judging the show, Rami wins. Curry second. In third place, based on because you have to look at how it ended. And how it ended, I would put it would be a toss up between Hadi and Bonac, and I honestly would put Phil fifth.
They had the last call out was Hadi, Rami, Brandon, and Phil.
So the way the judges are looking at it,
you would assume those would be the top four.
Yeah, they're going to be the top four more than likely, unless something drastic happens tonight.
And Hadi was on the outside.
And Hadi was on the outside. He was fourth. He was definitely fourth. There is no way that they would let him get in the top three. Unless, again, some kind of a miracle happens and it's judged properly and no changes since yesterday. But I just don't see Phil beating not Rami and not Curry. At his best years ago, easily. Because Rami is still not complete. There are still a little bit of flaws, a little bit. He could be a little bit harder, but you have to judge on what you see, and what you see is, I mean, to me, that was pretty obvious. I don't think that judges are going to be brave enough, even if they wanted to place Phil first. I could be wrong because, like I said, we've seen these things before. They've happened before. 1980 Mr. Olympia, when Schwarzenegger won, when he clearly shouldn't have been top 3. We've seen that. So those things do happen. I can't see it. Like, if we're going strictly by the looks, I can't see it happening.
See,
what did you think?
I had Remy first.
Me too.
Obviously. But the way the judges did it, they had Phil in the center on all those, but they had Phil more in the center than they had Curry.
Yes, which is possible that he's second.
Which had me thinking Remy, Phil, Curry, but close between Phil and Brandon. And then tonight, I mean, I'm a Phil fan, so I'm a bit biased. But tonight I had, if Phil does what he usually does, and Remy does what he sometimes does, I wouldn't be surprised if Phil wins.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I
feel like Brandon got the bad end of the stick because he's up against 2 guys who have massive legs. And even though his top half looks good, his legs look a little bit smaller than Remy and Phil. So it's a tough, when you have those 3 sitting together, and what a lot of the poses focus on the hams and the quads and the glutes. So I feel like, at least Remy and Phil are on kind of similar height to size, to at least proportion. So I think that maybe they might be knocking him on the legs, which is a very obvious smaller. But Phil would have to bring his typical 100% Saturday night, and Remy would have to be his little bit off, which he has done before, if you recall, on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. But then if Remy comes in the same, I say it's over. I say it's Remy win.
You know what? Very often we say things like, he wasn't beaten, but he lost. And, it reminds me of, remember when Jay beat Ronnie, when he finally beat him. Yeah. I mean, we have to be 100% honest. It wasn't. It wasn't Jay beating Ronnie. It was Ronnie beating Ronnie. So.
Yeah, and Jay said that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jay admitted it. So Jay is very, very honest about it. So those things happen when somebody is off. I mean, if Phil is 100% on at his all-time best, the way he can be genetically gifted, none of those guys, they competing for second place. But
even if he does come in at his all-time best, I still believe Remy needs to come in a little bit shit. Otherwise, if he comes in as good as he is,
because, and just based on that stomach, because you saw that stomach. I mean, you saw that's it. I mean, there is no way he can improve that. He was trying his best, but I mean, it's just
it looked good initially. It looked all right initially.
Initially, when he came out, yeah.
Then so that's what I'm thinking. Maybe if it's a shorter line of voting and he's a little more peeled, it's going to be a little bit better. But he's going to have to come in like 110%, and Remy's going to have to be worse than he was last night. Otherwise, it's not going to be too big of a. I don't know if I see Curry. I don't know.
Did you notice that when he was like, with progression of the prejudging, he wasn't like able to control his gut?
No, he wasn't. It was really bad. And I'm like, dude, this is the one thing that they told you last time. We need that donation. We need the donation, guys.
Like, he's losing his breath, and at some points also he was like, I don't know what he was going on, but it was like he was so weak on the stage. He was also like, I think
he was pumped up, but I think he was.
But he was like, getting like he was fading.
He was.
Yeah, he was definitely fading. He came out strong, and you know what? And I think the commentator, I don't know who it was. I think it was Lukasz's favorite, Sean Ray. I think that I think when he said that the more Phil will post, the harder he will get. I think he did say that. But the funny thing is that actually Phil got worse as the prejudging went on, and Rami got better as the prejudging went on.
I would feel like the timing would have played into that though, because if Phil was meant to go on 2 hours earlier, you got to be pretty fucking weak at that point.
Yeah.
Rami's been through Ramadan. He knows.
You know what? But taking aside conditioning, being, let's be honest, this is not the Phil of 5 years ago. It's just not. So even if he comes in, say, better condition tonight, can he fix the stomach issue? I think at this point it's pretty clear.
I think he can control it. He could definitely control it better. I think it. I don't know. Prejudging's longer as well. Like they bought him out, then they bought him out again, then they bought him out again. I feel like if he can hold it, for a routine, because that's all that he's got to do. There's nothing else after this. He can just hold it for that, and he can bring in the best package. Because he said he was going to bring the best, and I don't think it was.
Well, you know what? Typically, what Phil would, when he was, winning the Olympia, typically, like Alan said, Mr. Saturday Night. I mean, there is a reason why they called him that, because he would come for prejudging, and he would be on a flatter side. He would be good. He would still be probably better than anyone else. But coming back the next day, he was full and hard and just, peeled. So that requires actually carb loading. And typically between prejudging and carb loading, most of them take pretty significant amount of carbs to carb load, to have that fullness and to, for the muscle to push that skin. Well, what massive amounts of food will do to your gut, especially when you have a problem with that.
I agree with that, but again, I still say it's possible. But I would say
it might be a health issue, because there is clearly a scar on his stomach. I don't think he was lying or making up shit about his hernia. I really think that he heard and read about his bubble gut and what they called him, and they made fun of him for the past 2 years about his gut. I'm pretty sure that
they're still going to be doing it now. I can tell you that.
They're still going to be doing that now, and I think that is something that he probably is doing his best to control. It's just he wasn't able to do it last night. Did he want to? I'm pretty sure he did, but he wasn't. And in fact, if you look at Dexter, I mean, last night had a serious distension. It was very, very noticeable, and he never had that before. So it's. I expect Phil to be better tonight. I do expect him to be better tonight.
He needs to be his best to win, and Rami, even if he's his best, Rami still needs to be worse than he was last night. Two things that may not happen at all.
Well, and based on what you're saying, which again I agree wholeheartedly, Phil probably needs to be not 5'10". He probably needs to be 15-20% better, and Rami needs to drop at least 10-15%.
Yeah, they need to swap places. But then again, I didn't mind Brandon. The judges seemed to keep him on the outside, which had me thinking they're losing him on his big deficiency in legs, because they didn't put him in the middle. They put him in the middle once, I think, for like 4 poses, and then put him back out. I mean,
they were comparing him. They were comparing him with Phil. They definitely compared the two of them.
In the beginning, side by side, which I thought would have been better.
No, they were sort of side by side a few times.
No, at the end.
No, at the end, it was pretty much decided that it's probably Rami and they fighting for second, third.
Yeah, I thought that there would be a better comparison, Phil and Brandon, purely because Rami just makes you look like a small piece of shit anyway.
Yeah, he made them look like babies. That's for sure. They wanted. I was actually, like Lukasz was predicting with Sean. I was predicting that Rami. I didn't think he's gonna. I didn't say he's gonna win. I didn't make those. I usually don't like making those predictions, but I did expect him to come at his best, just because he worked with Chad Nichols. Rami jumped from one coach to another one from year to year, and in the last couple of years, it seems like people have forgotten about Chad Nichols, and he was getting also bad rap for many things. But what they keep forgetting that Chad Nichols, his wife Kim Shazevsky, is a 4-time Miss Olympia, who to this day had the best conditioning on stage of all Miss Olympias ever. They keep forgetting that Ronnie placed 9th in 1997, and in 98, working with Chad Nichols, he won the Olympia. They forget that he was working with Flex Wheeler. He was working with Mike Tyson. He knows his shit. He really, really knows his shit. And if an athlete stays disciplined and does what he's told, there is a very good possibility. So I thought that, especially he knows how to work with big guys clearly. So I knew that if he's working with when they announced that they're working together, and Rami actually didn't do so well at the Arnold Classic, everybody was saying, "Oh, it's probably Chet messed up." And the thing is actually Chet took responsibility, and he says, "Yes, I did." I mean, not in so many words, but that's exactly what he said. Because if you look at pictures leading up to the Arnold Classic, Rami was on a way to looking his all-time best. He looked absolutely amazing. And then on the day of the show, he didn't look so good. And, everybody was bringing Chad, and Chad said, "Yeah, I worked with him for the very first time, and miscalculated a few things. I'm still trying to figure his body. They messed up a little bit, I think, with carb loading. And, it's a learning process." But once he did that, I mean, the end result, look at Rami. Rami came to United States 2, 3, or 4 weeks before the Olympia. He stayed pretty much secluded with Dennis James. He was babysitting him, and he was doing exactly what Chad was telling him. And I think that, that was it. Nobody should be really surprised at what happened, because he really knows his shit. Because he worked with him first show for the Arnold Classic, didn't go so well. Then Rami was supposed to compete in Europe, but he was positive with COVID, so we didn't know how that would end up.
Yeah.
And now we see the result working with Chad, and it was the same thing that happened with Ronnie Coleman. But the only difference is they also worked the entire year with Chad, and then Ronnie went from 9th at the Mr. Olympia, and then he competed in New York, and he beat. It was New York or Russia, I don't remember, but Ronnie beat Kevin Levroni. And actually, Robert remembers this. Robert remembered the All-Star seminar at Apollon when Kevin said, like, "I couldn't believe it. Ronnie just beat me. Like, how the fuck is it even possible?" Nobody even thought about him. And Kevin goes like, "Did Ronnie just beat me? Like, how is it even possible? He never beat him before." It was like he wasn't even in contention of, nobody even talked about Ronnie, and he went to beat Kevin, and that was just the first glimpse. And I still remember Flex Magazine when they made predictions for 98 Olympia, because Dorian was injured. I mean, subsequently he retired, and that was contenders were Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levroni, even though Kevin just got beaten by Ronnie, but everybody thought it was a fluke. So it was Kevin, Flex, Sean Ray, Nasser Al-Sonbadi. Those were the 4 people that everybody was talking that they're going to win the Olympia. And all of a sudden, Ronnie comes out of nowhere and destroys them. So, if we see right now with Chad and Rami, it's almost the same situation.
Agreed. Any thoughts on men's classic physique?
I'm terrible at any categories outside of open because I'm too much of a fan. I just like Bumstead because he's a cool dude. So my problem with UFC and NFL, I just judge because I'm like, I like that guy. I'm gonna go for that team.
Classic physique. I think Bumstead. If he doesn't win the show, I would be really, really, really shocked.
Me and Robbie talk about the predictions and everything, and I already said Bumstead's gonna be number 1, Brion's gonna be number 2, and Robin's number 3. And even before the Olympia, like 2-3 weeks before that, I was saying exactly the same thing. And the predictions are like 100% with this. Bumstead came up like super sharp. That's the best Chris Bumstead that I've
Yeah.
ever seen in my entire life.
And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if next year he's even better because he's only now starting to get the muscle maturity. He's still super young. I think he's like 10 or 12 years younger than Brian. And, that height and those proportions, I just don't see anyone touching him.
Yeah. Plus, I'm a groupie exactly the same as Shane. So, yeah, I'm sticking to my boy. CB for the win, man.
There you go.
C-Bum.
All right. Listeners out there, keep the comments and questions rolling. We'll transition now to some supplement talk. Now we've kind of drilled the Olympia into the ground.
Got it to death. Yeah.
Thoughts on Rhodiola Rosea? Anybody care to chime in with?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's Robert's turn to talk. I think he's got this one covered.
Well, no, before we get into like all the nerdy stuff, I was gonna say like what anecdotal experiences do you have as far as using it? Have you ever used it solo, or have you only used it when it's a part of a more comprehensive formula?
I have a funny. Yeah, go ahead.
I've only used it as a part of a formula, but I can tell you right now there's only like I can probably only count 10 ingredients where I'm like I take a pre-workout and be like, oh shit, that really did mean I needed that in there. Rhodiola is not one of them. I mean, I think it probably does play a part, but if it's missing or if it's not missing in the hundreds and thousands of pre-workouts I've had, it's never been like, oh, wow, the Rhodiola made a difference. I'm not saying it's not effective, but it's just not one of those key things that if you've got 7 ingredients, that's one you need to put in there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'm about to get, 2 years worth of science.
I can tell you that, you know what, I was not very familiar with Rhodiola, so I'll be very, very honest about it. And actually, Robert, the one
that makes you a bad Russian. This is like a secret Russian herb. That makes you a very bad Russian.
And actually, Robert, the one who actually forced me to put it in both overtime and assassin. Remember that? He goes to me, you have to put Rhodiola this much in this product, in that product. I'm like, okay, no problem. But you know what? I think that after we put it, Robert, was it the first we put it in assassin or in overtime? I really don't.
First.
Overtime,
the original version of overtime before we added the new pep on the second go round.
So, I think that it did make a difference. I did feel that it made a difference for sure, because initially when we tried the formula first, I tried it first. It didn't have Rhodiola, and then Robert, I think manufacturer hated because of Robert. Robert kept fucking making adjustments to the formula, and I kept trying it, but there's definitely. It was definitely better with Rhodiola for sure. In fact, it got to a point where, I'm going to give a little bit probably of information where Robert and I discussed this a few weeks ago about Assassin, the 7th version, and Overtime, the 3rd version for 2021. And there were certain adjustments that were made, and we were talking about, we were talking about Tikrin as possibly being taken out, but Rhodiola was never, never the one. So that's my experience with Rhodiola. I think it's a great ingredient.
Lukasz, what about you, sir?
I never take it solo. Always stacked it with something. So usually what was with rest of the mushrooms, such as Pico 2 or with ashwagandha as well. So yeah, I never took it solo, so it's hard for me to say, if it works, on what type of effect has it on me, but as far as combining with other ingredients, it's pretty effective. It's pretty cool, and as you said, a Russian secret, so it's gotta be effective, right?
Anything that comes out of the Soviet Union, man, it's got to be magic.
That's what I wanted to say. Exactly, man.
There we go.
Now it's your turn, so
yeah,
give the listeners some study.
Okay, all right. So there's a reason. There's a very specific reason, or several specific reasons we put it in overtime. So when Robbie first started pitching the idea to me, he said, I want to do something that is going to, we called it overtime because originally it was going to be this all-night party thing. You want to go out, you don't want to just crush 2 or 3 bangs or some kind of energy drinks. You want something that if you go out, it's going to keep you going, or if you've got a late-night study session or something, it's going to keep you buzzing through the entire night that you're trying to study for midterms or something. So I've always liked rhodiola because it's got a long history of use, and it's got some really good studies in humans showing it's got anti-fatigue benefits, anti-stress benefits, because it's first and foremost an adaptogen. So it's going to improve the body's response to stress. And if you're feeling tired or sleep deprived, it kind of recalibrates your mind and make you feel a little bit more awake, make you feel a little bit less fatigued. Or if you're dealing with stressful situations, you don't get as much mental fatigue or physical fatigue. And so it's also been shown in a few exercise studies to delay the onset of fatigue, improve exercise. It's more in an endurance capacity than like a pure like 8 to 12 rep, bodybuilding style hypertrophy training sessions. But like when you dial into like the actual mechanisms and there's a reason why we stacked it in overtime the way we did, because the fun little bioactives. So there's 3 main bioactives in rhodiola. You have salidrosides, which are like the main energy boosting compounds. You've got the rosavins, and then you have tyrosol. And so what these 3 compounds do is, at first and foremost, it acts as an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. And so acetylcholinesterase is the enzyme in the body that degrades acetylcholine, which is the learning neurotransmitter. If you notice in overtime, we've got 600 milligrams of alpha GPC, which is going to boost levels of acetylcholine. So you've got the acetylcholine, boosting up ingredients there. Plus we're limiting the activities of the enzyme that's going to degrade acetylcholine, so you're going to have longer lasting, memory enhancement, focus, learning, all of that good stuff. Plus, it acts as an energy booster. Rhodiola also boosts serotonin levels in the body, which is one of your happy hormones, makes you feel good. And it also inhibits. It's a mild MAO inhibitor. Now, MAO is monoamine oxidase. That is the enzyme that degrades dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin in the body. So again, we're inhibiting an enzyme that's going to lead to longer mood, euphoria, focus, happiness, all that good stuff. And it also inhibits COMT, which is catechol-O-methyltransferase, which is an enzyme that also degrades, that's responsible in the process of metabolizing dopamine in the body. So we've got an ingredient that helps prolong dopamine levels, serotonin levels, acetylcholine levels. Plus, we've also got a pretty decent dose of tyrosine in overtime as well. So that's kind of why it's going to prolong the mood, focus, energy, and kind of stave off any potential crash. Because when you start throwing all of these other kind of stimulants in there and high levels of caffeine, you could be set up for either a headache, brain fog, or a really nasty crash. So yeah, that's everything about rhodiola. I take it daily, just about. Like if I'm working for like an afternoon session, I'll take anywhere between like 300 to 400 milligrams. The research dose is 288 to 640, I think. And it depends on which standardization you're using, because it could be 3% rosavins, 1% salidroside, 3% rosavins, 2% salidroside. And they've got all different kinds of standardizations, but most of the time you'll see 3% rosavins to 1% salidroside or 2% salidroside. So I love the ingredient. It tastes horrible, but it's a wonderful, wonderful ingredient for if you're looking for like an energy boost without a necessary caffeine kick. So yeah, that's everything in a nutshell about rhodiola.
Robert, I wanted to ask you one question. As far as rhodiola stacking with, like, as you said, because we can stack it, for example, with stimulants heavy, such as caffeine or other stuff, for this extra like energy boost, that will prolong you throughout the workout, throughout your day and everything. But what about stacking it with stuff that like calms you down? Do you think that it's also effective one, especially in the sleep time formulas?
Yeah, I've seen it used in a couple of sleep time formulas, and it's also in Genius Joy, which from like the Genius brand, it's in there, and ashwagandha is in there, as well as some theanine and tyrosine. So yeah, it can kind of work both ways because it's an adaptogen. So it's going to kind of modulate. So if you're really amped up, it'll help bring you down, and if you're feeling a little low, it'll bring you back up. I think there's a definite balance that you're going to have to strike with it, because you put too many adaptogens in something, I think you're just going to end up laying flat. Which is why I typically don't like ashwagandha or something in my pre-workouts, especially. But in that formula, I've had no bad effects with it. I mean, it's been very good as far as like giving you a good boost in mood and focus, and just kind of not. I always take it whenever I go in town to see in-laws. So I kind of live on that stuff during the holidays, especially. We're not going to town in New Orleans this year. We're staying in Texas. But yeah, we always live on that stuff whenever we have to go see Sandy's family or anybody else, just because it just keeps you happy to where you don't give a shit about anything. You've got screaming kids all around there and all this other stress from family, and you take this and then you feel mellow.
Keeps you happy when you shouldn't be.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I like rhodiola. It doesn't seem to take the teeth out of a pre-workout the way that theanine or ashwagandha does. So I find it to be a little bit more stimulating of an adaptogen or a nootropic, but not necessarily overly calming, it makes it great for an afternoon nootropic boost. Like I'll take that and maybe some CDP choline or uridine monophosphate. I'll take those 3, and then I'll be off to the races for a good afternoon session of work without needing any additional caffeine.
Good stuff.
Next time someone asks me, I'm going to say exactly that. But what do you think on Rhodiola? I'm going to say that.
Please do.
I only remember maybe like the first part, but and by first part I mean like the sentence. So
there you go. Just say it's a great anti-fatigue ingredient.
You know what? Next time, what's your thoughts on Rhodiola? I was like, here's Robert's email. Give him a call. Because I told this guy everything he knows, and he'll probably help you out.
There you go. Alan, you know what? You can just bite me. There you go. Why take out teacrine? Because it's super expensive, and we're probably going to put in some other stuff into the teacrine is really ridiculously expensive and is a bitch to flavor. And if we're going to put in something else, push comes to shove where at some point we're gonna cut something. Probably. I don't know if you want to chime in anything else, Robbie.
Nope.
Are you sure?
100%.
You don't want to say anything else?
When it comes to ingredients, I don't argue with Robert.
Do you have any thoughts on what you might be putting in place of the teacrine?
I'm not. I know what you're doing.
he's got his notepad ready.
His one hand is like writing something.
20 minutes after the podcast says, Apollon announces version 7 of Overtime.
That's what I did last week for the caramel macchiato.
Yeah, I'm driving home. I'm literally I have a notification how the fuck did it come up?
You literally just told me it, and you didn't say don't share it. So of course I'm going to share it.
Yeah, I know. 100%. No arguments.
Alan, do you have any suggestions for something why we would be taking to use in place of teacrine? We're always open to suggestions or banter or discussion about ingredients.
Race time.
This is not a dictatorship. If there's another ingredient you guys want to try, I'm experimenting with Xynamite right now, which is it's a standardized mango leaf extract that's standardized for mangiferin, which is another COMT inhibitor, kind of like what Rhodiola does. So it can boost caffeine, and there's a couple of studies using dosages anywhere between 250 to 500 milligrams on cognition, athletic performance, things like that. So I'm always up for anything that kind of tweaks, neurotransmitters in the body and can give you an extra energy boost without necessarily having to up the caffeine amount. I think that's good.
Yeah, I've seen this ingredient for the first time from Evolve from South Africa.
Yeah.
They put it in in their pre-workout, and I think in the pump formula as well. And I tried both formulas. Pretty good. So yeah, keep up the loop, man.
Tried Pico 2 recently, loving it even without the saturation. It tastes kind of like uncooked bread dough if you just try it on its own. I don't know if you would. I'm not sure how you could necessarily be loving it if you're not saturated with it yet. It's kind of hard to, I guess, see any of the benefits of unless you actually have been taking it consistently. But the good thing is the saturation dose on it is super low. 10 times lower than what not exactly 10 times, but significantly lower than what beta alanine is for the same benefits, more or less.
Yeah, it's like taking it 1 week, right? To get the perfect saturation, I believe.
You'd have to take 4 grams a day for a week because the saturation dose is 28 grams. So you can do 2 grams a day for 2 weeks, 4 grams a day for 1 week, or
Could you do 28 in one day?
You could. I don't know.
I'm just curious. I'm not saying do. I'm just curious because you're like, well, if you do it for 2 weeks at 2 grams, you'll saturate. Then if you could do, 4 grams at 1 week, so I'm like, well, how short are we talking here? Can we do it in one? This is the bodybuilding world here. Of course, we're going to try and do it all at once.
I would like to say yes, but I don't. At the same time, I don't know if you can oversaturate the receptors to where you end up it's getting metabolized into something else, and you just end up pissing out some of it or something like that. I don't know. I really don't. It's a food. It's a blend of 6 mushrooms, 6 powdered mushrooms. So I don't see it causing any issues or something like that to where you take too much beta alanine at one time or too much taurine or something like that to where it's an individual amino acid or you could overload the receptors. It's working through a different mechanism.
Oh, there you go. Robert says probably not going to be a problem.
I don't think so. I would have to check with Matt Titlow and the rest of the
Yeah.
Compound Solution folks. But
I'll
yeah.
I'll text Matt.
There you go. Yeah, please do figure out what's going on with that. What's the IC50 on
Because
Pico 2?
you need like a buffer, because when you go to these smart guys with these dumbass questions like that, they'll just be like, "But why?"
Yeah.
Whereas the other guys are just like, "But why not?" You know, that's just the world we live in. I'm sorry, Matt's
Exactly.
way too smart to probably me ask that question.
Yeah.
He'll just look at me like an idiot. But
Robert, on a Pico 2, I know that I saw some literature where it like ranges from like as low as 1 gram to as high as 4 gram per day. What is your opinion?
I mean, all you're doing is delaying the point of saturation. So it's kind of like taking caffeine or beta alanine. You're going to take 3.2 grams a day. You're going to take 6.4 grams a day. You're going to take 4.8 grams a day. You're just delaying how long until you actually reach saturation. So, you take 1 gram a day, you'll reach saturation in a month. Is there a chance that you could reach saturation a little bit sooner? Maybe if you're a lighter weight individual, you have less mass on your frame. Yeah, that's possible.
Okay.
Most companies only put
I was
in a
gonna
gram
say,
because it's a pitch to flavor.
I'll say the majority I've seen is 2 grams, like majority.
Yeah.
Then you have maybe 40%, 30% using a gram, but I have never seen anyone use more than 2. Never.
It's too difficult to flavor. I mean, it's like mushrooms.
Well, Robert, but if it's part of a pre-workout formula, so typically pre-workout, no, well, number one, people are jumping from one pre-workout to another one. They're changing them all the time.
Yep.
So if you take Pico 2 as a part of pre-workout, say you're sticking to one pre-workout and you work out 4 or 5 times a week. So what about the other times that you don't take the pre-workout? Would you suggest taking Pico 2 on its own, or it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I would, and I would just treat it just like you would creatine. Take it even on your rest days. Just to maintain those higher levels of all the fun little bioactives that are in the mushroom blend.
So you would suggest getting it like a standalone product?
Yeah, because I know who is it? Primaforce offers a bulk Pico 2 formula.
Yeah.
I think there's 1 or 2 other brands that do as well.
SNS does. Yeah.
Yeah, SNS does. They're usually good for prices, as is Primaforce. So both of those are decent quality companies, or good quality companies.
Thinking of something else.
Oxen Sludge.
Someone else, yeah. I'm trying to remember who does.
Personally, I always like
yeah, Morphogen does one.
Fungal, creatine, betaine, Pico 2. Those are my top 3.
That's why I like the Go Size. Go Size has a good mix of beta alanine, creatine, epicatchins. To be honest, Pico 2 would be a nice addition to that, but it's it's a nice daily thing to just throw in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the stacks, you can't control the dosages, and here when you have the standalone product, you know how much you are taking, for example, of each ingredient. So for me, it's like I take 4 grams of Pico 2 every day, and I'm like taking like dry scoop, straight to the dome, a bit of water, and that's basically it. Personally, I have no weird feelings or like any weird aftertaste as far as like taking the Pico 2, because I love the earthiness of this ingredient, so I have no issues with that. But as far as like other ingredients such as like creatine or betaine, I know how much I'm taking, so yeah, always straight to the dome, and that's basically it.
Yeah, and I mean the main driver behind Pico 2, it's heavily slanted, so it's a blend of 6 mushrooms, but it's heavily slanted towards cordyceps. So you're getting a little bit of turkey tail, a little bit of reishi, a little bit. What are the other 3 mushrooms that are in there?
Maitake.
Yeah. Do you take any other mushrooms, Lukasz, besides Pico 2?
Life.
Yeah. It's like
magic mushrooms, psilocybin.
Just wakes up, oxygen mushrooms. I mean, the dude's dancing and still alive on a sleep aid for some fuck's sake.
I don't know if you saw my post on Facebook, but I this week probably I did a post, and I was like 1995. I'm taking mushrooms. #arrested. 2020. I'm taking mushrooms with brand. And that's basically it. Nowadays everyone is taking some type of like mushrooms, and like people are like using, from like lion's mane to chaga to maitake, shiitake, those type of things. So yeah,
Magic mushrooms.
yeah, magic mushrooms, especially from New Zealand.
Lion's mane mushroom is incredible. Yes, I take 1.5 grams to 3 grams a day, depending on just how much I get between a nootropic and the bulk powder that I add each day. I definitely take that each day. It's awesome stuff. Awesome stuff.
Hey, Robert, I was going to ask you, what is your favorite brand this year? Does Robert, not Robic. I try and pronounce it, but I don't think people can understand
You're
it.
asking me?
Yeah, no, I actually heard Robert. Yeah.
I don't know. Are we talking like from the Stack 3D lineup of brands?
No. Yours. Overall, your favorite.
I don't
Don't
know.
look at Robert. Don't look at him. Just
Well, I mean, I'm biased.
your
I mean, I would be heavily biased because there's a bunch
I
of
talked to
companies
a
that I
guy.
do a lot of work with, so I can't just say
Okay.
I like. I mean, that would be it wouldn't be fair for me to.
There's a guy that I talked to in the industry from ages ago, very well known, and he said everyone has their own little bias, right? If your favorite color is blue and you pick your favorite brand and it's blue, there's some bias. Just depends how biased it is. So if you're going to be like, well, I do like mushrooms, so I like this brand, that's irrelevant. It's a bit different when it's just like, well, this guy gave me $5,000, so I like him. So it's a bit different when you get into this way.
Oh,
so
shit.
I'm just saying
Oh,
your
shit, just
favorite.
said it's out of wormhole.
No. I'm just saying, like, in terms of bias, that like you're acceptable. You're probably saying bias because I like this brand and I worked with them on this formula, but that makes sense because that's a product you made that you're obviously going to like. So, Mike, I'm just saying your favorite. Don't care if we're talking about women's, kids, old people, whatever.
I mean, can I give you like a top 5 or 6 for brands that I really like? That I think there's
Give me a top 5. 6 is a stupid number.
Well, then why does the Olympia get away with the top 6?
Isn't 6? Yeah, that's the. No, is it 7? No, it's 6. Yeah, it's 6. 6 is the Chinese number, the bad luck one. 1 plus the Chinese. Oh no, was it 8? No, I'm pretty sure it was 6. It's the number. It's like a bad. They did the 1 plus the Chinese phone company. They did 1 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then jumped to 7. They didn't do a 6
because it's
my wife's Chinese. And I used to work for a phone company, and they'd always, if I would give them a random phone number, and there was like 2 6s in it, they'd be like, no, you need to change that. And after a while, I was like, why the fuck am I not allowed to put 6s in there? Like, oh, that's just a bad number. And I never asked. I was just like, okay.
Wait, was she born in New Zealand though? Because I met her and
she's born in New Zealand, but her
parents are from China.
She's born in her parents from Malaysia.
Okay,
but she was born in New Zealand. Then she went back over to Malaysia for like 5 years, I think. 6. So she did her early learning years there. So she's got a good amount of Chinese. But anyway,
Alan, I don't know if you're joking or if you're being serious. Your favorite brand is MFit and Centurion Labs. I'm trying to wonder. I don't wonder if you're
I was about to say that's good because he's obviously picking brands that he likes, like that not necessarily someone else would pick. But then, to your point, I
tried MFit's stem-free pump. Like I had a tub of it.
Hey, we want your 5.
It's horrible tasting, man. It is like one of the worst tasting pre-workouts I've tried in recent years. And it's got nitrosogene in it, glycerol, coconut powder, Pico 2, and 1 or 2 other ingredients. And there's nothing in there that should taste that awful. It is really, really bad tasting.
Okay. Anyway.
You might as well answer because otherwise he's not gonna let it go.
I'm gonna keep delaying this by answering comments. So people keep the comments going. Like we could prolong this, and I could just end the podcast.
How about you name your top? How about you come up with your top 10 and just name 5? There you go.
Oh, fuck me.
That way you can be like, oh no, sorry, I didn't mention you because you were actually one of the other ones in the 10 that. There you go. Or come up with your favorite 100 and name 5. There you go. People won't feel left out. I do it all the time. Just do it.
We'll do Robert's top 20 brands.
20. God damn it.
All right, now you're just fucking with us, Alan. Now I know you're just fucking with us based on those comments.
Go on, Robert. Give him top 5 because he's not gonna let it go.
Oh god
Otherwise,
damn.
you sit here in silence and you're gonna bore the shit out of the fans.
I will. Well, obviously Apollon, because Robbie holds a special place in my heart, and I have the honor and privilege of helping chime in with an ingredient here or there when Robbie can stay awake long enough for me to finish rambling about an ingredient like rhodiola or something like that. I like that. We're gonna go, Rob. I mean, formulas are dynamite. The protein tastes freaking phenomenal. I'll go with that. I like what Morphogen does a lot. I personally haven't tried any of the products, but Ben is a super smart dude. I'm waiting to try some of the products. He's offered to send me a few this time. I've just never taken him up on the offer. I could buy some too. I haven't because I still have an entire closet full of shit to try. I like Inspired a lot. Inspired's doing some really good stuff. And Chris is just a cool dude. Cool guy. Maybe we'll replace TJ one of these days with Chris, unless TJ comes out of his hole and comes on here.
Is the loosest dude that fucking me in the industry.
Yeah, man, he's freaking awesome. I've always liked their products. Devastate White Cut is still one of the pre-workouts that I could never handle a full scoop on it. It was too whatever it was, man. It was too intense for me. I'll put it that way. Too good. Too good. I could do I think the entire serving was 17 grams. I could do 14 grams out of 17, and that was kind of the most I could handle without feeling uncomfortable. So yeah, that's what, 3.
Just push that a little bit more.
Pushing it a little bit more. I like Primeval. I do like their stuff, but I mean, again, I'm biased. I do a lot of writing for them and the other companies on there. Their protein tastes good. Especially their whey tastes really good. And I've always liked their stem-free pump formula. The stem ones are kind of hit or miss for me. I've liked Ape Shit, the white tub. The Mega Pre Black doesn't really. It makes me feel tired. It's got that combination of dynamine, teacrine, and caffeine in there that just leaves me feeling not good at all. But I like Ape Shit a lot for a pre-workout. I've always liked that since it debuted even 4 years ago. What else? Is that 4?
So there's 4. It's not hard to count to 5.
It can be. 4's an unlucky number for me. 5's even worse.
Well, we didn't actually do 6.
Yeah. What are some other companies that have been doing? I haven't tried a lot of other new companies' stuff this year. From another really great tasting protein is 1UP Nutrition. Their whey protein is dynamite tasting. Those are some really, really good flavors there.
Yeah.
Trying to think pre-workouts. I almost need to go rummage through my closet to go check out the different pre-workouts I have in there.
You know what? The finals are going to be on soon.
It is. I haven't tried any Ghost stuff. I like the Ghost Gamer formula, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. I haven't tried it, but I think that would be a good one to try.
Which product?
Ghost Gamer, their gaming formula from Ghost. I like the formula of that when it came out. I haven't tried it yet. Now I liked Legend. I mean, it was good when I tried it first when it came out. Who else? Not Jim. That's not going to be up there. Not MFit just because it tastes. Nutrex isn't up there. Not even close.
Not a lot of those brands done a lot this in the year in its entirety. Jim only dropped, I think it was 2 SS8 and the BCAAs.
I need to pull up. I'm gonna go. Oh, Glaxon. There we go. Glaxon's a good one. There we go. I just pulled up Track 3D and I saw the ad. Yeah. Yeah, I would probably say those are my top 5, 6 that I routinely go back to those and use those products. If y'all haven't tried Glaxon's pump formula, the profile looks deceptively simple. I mean, it's citrulline, vasodrive, and it just the pumps on it are dynamite. The
synergy with all of this stuff is pretty.
Yeah. Joey over there knows what the hell he's doing.
It's to the point where even if it don't look like that good, it's kind of like Phil, right?
Yeah.
You see Phil Heath and you'd be like, he's potentially going to look good on stage. But Glaxon has done it so many times now that you're just like, well, the potential's there, and based on them delivering with every other thing, it's a good chance, almost a guarantee that it works as good as it's promised. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't tried any of Core's stuff, but I mean, I know all of their products are dynamite. Like the formulas, I've talked to Kenton and Doug over there. I've had them both on the Supplement Engineer podcast, just going over stuff, and they do great things. And so, that's another company I have zero reservations about recommending to people. In addition to all the other ones.
Core is one of the 3 brands that I actually buy stacks from and take. PES is one of the other ones.
I haven't tried any of PES's stuff in a long time.
They just have a really well-rounded set. Yeah, Core, PES, and Glaxon. Those are the ones that I like because there's very few brands that you can take, a weight loss or a pump or a muscle builder or a test booster that you can get it all from one brand.
Yeah,
Core does that. Glaxon does that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like my top 5 or 6, however many.
What was the saying? Like blood out of a stone.
Say it again.
The blood out of a stone. It was pretty tough to force you to say.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I'm better looking through like an individual product, because with every brand, there's certain things I like and certain things I don't like from, or not necessarily don't like. I'm just not as nuts about. I'll be more inclined to use 1 or 2 products from that than outright brand loyalty to something else. And that's why it's kind of hard for me to just say top 5 brands. I'm thinking, I really like this aspect of it, but there's this other thing that I'm not super nuts about. And, it's kind of those kind of things. So that's why I don't want to, just blatantly just say, hey, it's unless, I had complete control of a brand and I was just doing my own thing. I'd say, well, obviously this is what I'm doing because this is the way I formulated everything. So that's why.
Well, okay. I think Robert should go next.
Me?
Yeah, but you can't say Apollon.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Because theoretically, that's already.
No, it's not a problem at all.
You can name 6 if you want, because I'm sure it'll be faster than Robert's.
Top 5?
Yeah.
6, 5, 10.
Okay.
2, 1.5. Up to you.
I really like Jim Stepan.
So
Actually, believe it.
Sorry. Your favorite brands this year? Yeah. Sorry.
This year. Okay, based on what I've, what is it called? Beam protein, the isolate. I thought that was the best tasting isolate I have ever had, hands down. And, typically I will try like products from different companies, and I'm not a big fan of most isolates. But this one, Beam definitely surprised me a lot. Best tasting isolate I've ever tried. Then another product that I really liked was I actually got chocolate. It's double chocolate or chocolate chip, something chocolate from Jim. Protein also tasted very good, but it's a blend, so it's not really isolate, so it's no competition to Beam. Really enjoyed that product. Other than that, what else did I try? Something that's this year. I liked Devastated of the Nation. The pre-workout, definitely liked it. That was very good. Label. The supplement facts doesn't do it justice. It's definitely good. Found it different from Apollon, but at the same time hard hitting, and I really enjoyed it. So that one was very good. A 4th one would be from Glaxon. I've tried the pre-workout. I think it was a pre-workout. I really liked the flavor. It was a good pre-workout. Definitely, the first version that they had. Specimen. I tried that. Yeah. I really liked it. It did exactly what I expected it to do. And it was quite different from Apollon, because obviously not a hard-hitting pre-workout, but it does its job and definitely translates to what's on the label. So I really enjoyed that. And what else? Oh, and from X and Sledge, the cola flavored, I think it's aminos, right? Was it amino? Yeah.
The Jack Daniels flavored one?
The Jack Daniels one, yeah.
I want to try that. That's what I had their owners on the podcast, and I really liked. They were cool.
And they definitely, it definitely surprised me, because that was the flavor that I thought that I'm absolutely, like, I was preparing myself to hate it. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very pleasant surprise. And then, you know what, I'm going to actually round it out because also of the taste. I went to see a friend of mine, and he is carrying Jay Cutler's line. Mm-hmm. So, even though the products, the formulas themselves are not exactly what I like typically, but I tried something. I think it was also aminos, and it was a little bit on the sour side. I don't remember what flavor it was, but it surprised the shit out of me. It was really, really, really good, really tasty. So I think that's pretty much it for this year.
Hmm.
There you go.
Well, Lucas, you're obviously. I like Lucas's opinion. He has that, and he has that distribution touch to him. You know, he likes to look for the same aspects as me.
Yeah.
Like he sort of looks at a brand like branding, marketing, effectiveness, and all that stuff. So I'm interested in hearing Lucas's
How much
brands
time,
of the year.
how much time we got?
You know what? I'll limit you to 3.
Oh, that's gonna be hard, man.
Okay, then 4. Well, you made it sound like you're gonna go on for a while.
2.5.
Dude.
You can choose 2.5 brands.
You can, you can do 5. It's just, focus on the 3.
I don't want to be super biased, but at the same time, I've been working with so many brands for this year, and uh, also past this year, I was testing so many like cool stuff. It's pretty hard, to say like 3 brands were like super, pumped that up. But you guys like mentioned already like some brands that I really enjoyed and I really support. I will start by saying Apollon. Uh, Basically because we started like talking with Robic this year, and we evolved our relationship and everything from that. Grew. So I think that he made an amazing progress, with his formulas, with how the brand is exposed to the market, and how his reach grew through this year. So I would say that Apollon has to be out there. I would also say that Inspired is one of the brands that is like making making noise every year, and maybe this year they didn't like that much, they didn't release that much SKUs as past year, but at the same time they released like quality stuff,
Yeah.
especially with the pre-workout. I love this stuff. This is one of the best pre-workouts for this year, hands down. um what else? I will definitely say that Naughty Boy lifestyle. Some people are laughing about these guys, but at the same time, they did phenomenal job as far as like marketing,
Yeah.
branding, exposing to the market. They like they. I was talking to the owner like a few days ago, and he was telling me we are gonna celebrate our first birthday, and I was like, man, time flies, but at the same time, how many SKUs they produce, and every SKU is different. Every SKU has this unique vibe, which I need to have give them props for that. So that's basically top three, top three. Well, 3 brands, but I need to also say that Morphogen is doing an amazing job. Ban Hartman, hands down, great guy, as Robert said. So I tried so far 3 of his products, and Alpha Gen, Morphocalm, and Morphoburn, and I was really pleasantly surprised with them. So that's a really good quality brand, and I will definitely recommend it to everyone. Um, hmm, what else? I would also say that one of the surprises as far as like protein was rice to me. Brian reached out and sent me a few tubs, and I was pleasantly surprised how the protein tastes. So I will definitely shout out to them for the protein. I didn't try the beam, but I can say that these guys are also doing some cool stuff. It's not available here in Europe, so it's hard for me say anything, specific about them. But in terms of like price, they're also doing some cool stuff. So props to these guys, to Brian. What else? What else? I I can talk a lot about the brands and everything. I will definitely say that Drew from Dragon Pharma did some crazy
Yeah.
stuff with their formulas, and the branding, and how the line is improved through this year. So definitely props to him. Plus, I have mad love for that guy. So yeah, much love for him. And of course, Core did an amazing job this year. I remember like Doug posting the picture, how many SKUs he released, and how many also new flavors and everything he made. And I'm not saying that only Core, because he's a part owner also of Arms Race Nutrition and America Labs. So it's like they're doing some cool stuff down there. So yeah, man, props to Doug as well, and Patrick and Kenton for doing such a great job with releasing the products, which I truly admire and love. So yeah, and of course what can I say? Glaxon did an amazing job. I think that's the brand of the year in my eyes, um, due to the fact that they're not just rebranded the entire lineup, but you know as you guys all said, they always like trying to produce something different and offer like this unique experience, especially with the synergy, and how how each person um, gets the effectiveness of each product. So yeah, Sam, Michael, great job for this year from my side. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I would say two other brands that don't tend to get as much traction, I guess, are Innova Farm and Advanced Molecular Labs. They've had a few quiet releases over the past couple of years, and I don't know if they get the same. They might be doing like huge online or something. I don't see their names mentioned a lot, but every time I've used their products, I've had very good experiences on them.
in my eyes
Yeah.
from brands that are like unknown, and I would like say that in like quotations, probably Cell and SNS, which are like
Yeah.
my two go-tos. I love these brands, and I love what they're doing. With Super Swole, I remember this when I saw this product. I was like, I need to get my hands on it, and
Yeah, it's a dynamite pump formula.
man, one of the best out there. So, but not many people know about this brand. So yeah, I'm a geek when it comes to brands, and trying to find something different. And every time I'm like poking Shane, wow, check it out, check it out, check it out. You need to see this brand, that brand, that. And I'm like always like enthusiastic about it, but yeah, that's just me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The amount of new brands I see, I get like emails maybe daily, one or two brands. It still blows me away how many brands are out there that I have absolutely no idea about. It's insane. And I'm just talking the US and Canada. And like I mean it's cool, but still there's a shitload. Like I cover a lot, maybe 1,200, 1,300, but
God damn.
I don't think I'm anywhere near the I would say there's somewhere around with 10 to 20,000 I think in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 10,000 actually. Like moderately sized, not like some guy down the road who just did 100 tubs. I mean like like a moderately sized brands. I mean, it's just I shared like three from Japan, and I know there's a shitload more there, and these are like three of the big ones, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it still blows me away how large this place is.
Yeah.
The industry is just huge.
Agreed. There's an expression. Michael from Glaxon said, he said there's plenty of pie to go around, and there absolutely is. There's a ton of room for people to come into the industry and have success if you're willing to work hard and put out quality stuff.
There's plenty of pie to go around, but there is not a lot of spotlight.
Yeah,
If
I
that
agree with
makes sense.
Yeah. You just need to expand your range, Shane. Just become the
Me?
To become the mogul, yeah. You are the spotlight of the industry. You are the one everybody.
The thing is that a supplement blog can only grow. So I'm not like kidding myself. I mean, I'm not a mobile phone or a fucking gaming entertainment pop culture website. Yeah. This is specifically sports supplements, and I mean, look at how many brands like Nutra Ingredients and all those dudes share. BevNet, it ain't many.
Right.
And those guys are probably got a lot more people on their team than me. I mean, I try and do what I can, but I mean, it's hard sometimes to you get these contacts from these brands, and you're like, it's just you wouldn't have even heard of them, and it turns out they got like Bombar, perfect example.
Yeah.
Lukasz introduced me to Bombar. These guys are like 2-3 years old, and holy shit, man, they get like 10,000 likes, comments on Instagram, and it's not even remotely the kind of interaction you see from American brands. So not only do they tear apart like social interaction to US brands, but they do it specifically in Russia, which is insane. It's that kind of shit. And you that's not just Bombar in Russia. You'll have someone in Latvia. You'll have another brand in Finland. You'll have another brand in Macedonia. Everyone will have their own little brand.
Yeah.
And they may not even pop up on your radar, but it'll be the world to someone who lives in that country.
Right.
And it's just about finding those brands that you will never know about until you probably actually visit the damn country and look on the shelf and don't see, I don't know, someone you recognize. It's a huge world of supplements. But see, me sharing a brand that's popular in, I don't know, some offbeat island in the middle of nowhere would mean the world to them, but it's probably like 100 people that are going to be interested.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think I've done good. I think I covered a lot of brands.
Absolutely.
I think I reach as many as I can.
Yeah.
We're still expanding.
All right, gentlemen. In wrapping things up, this is the episode right before Christmas. Christmas is 6 days away. So I don't know.
This is the Christmas episode.
Yeah, this is the Christmas episode. So that's what we're gonna. In closing, here's what we're gonna do. Favorite Christmas movies or Christmas songs?
Well, it's not gonna be a fucking song. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, we'll start with you, Shane.
Is this what it feels like to pick top 6 brands?
There you go.
Shit. I mean,
I know Lukasz doesn't watch movies, so that's why I'm starting with you. So give Lukasz time to figure out something.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm only gonna pick this one because it's dumb and like I hate Christmas. I'm just gonna make sure I get the name right. Yeah, Ernest Saves Christmas.
Ernest Saves Christmas. Jesus. All right, we're gonna put you in timeout for the next 5 minutes.
Because I don't like the classic like kid like Jiggle. I don't like those classic Christmassy ones. Like Die Hard's up there as well.
Yeah, Die Hard is awesome. I will accept that.
I'm not much of like a Santa Claus. He gets in trouble, fix his sleigh, help him, blah blah blah. I like just movies that you play around. Die Hard's one, but Ernest Saves Christmas is going to be like the dumbest nostalgic movie. Even when I watched it back then, I was like, this is pretty. Then as you get older, you're like, I see. It's meant to be dumb.
Yep. Yeah. Lukasz,
You haven't
what
seen
about you? Do you have a favorite? I don't know if y'all get American movies over there. If there's like a Polish Christmas special, or songs that y'all have.
That's the thing, we don't have that kind of like tradition as it is in America and other parts of the world. Because I know that like every time when I'm listening to some, interviews and everyone was like asking, "What's your favorite Christmas movie?" I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with these people?"
What are you doing? Why are you not opening presents?
It's like a fucking waste of time, man. It's like I don't understand. Christmas is the time of a feast, You need to like carb up, man. That's the thing.
Yeah, you eat the carbs in front of the TV. All Ernest Saves Christmas is on playing.
Shane gets all small, like 1/4 cup of sweet potato, and that's his carbs.
I get a candy cane. That's my carbs for the day.
It's a Wonderful Life. That is a good one. That's a classic. Robbie, you're the movie buff in our quartet. What is your favorite Christmas movies?
Die Hard,
Pee-wee.
obviously. Yeah, Die Hard. Home Alone. I like that movie. The first one. I like the second one too. What else? And I'm not gonna fuck up this time, so Robert doesn't have to make fun of me on fucking social media. Dick, Rocky, Rocky 4, because he fucking made sure to fucking stick it to me.
There you go.
But you know what? I really like Bad Santa. I really like that movie. That's like one of the funniest movies ever. And if we go old school, then what is it? Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I really like that. Steve Martin. I mean, I'm a huge Steve Martin fan. Yeah, those are pretty much it. I mean, there are a lot, but those are like
John Candy. John Candy, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite.
That's a great movie.
Have you seen Fat Man?
Not yet, but everybody's talking about it.
I mentioned it recently. I don't know if I mentioned it to. I might have mentioned you. It's fucking dynamite.
Everybody's talking about it. It's like a little dark.
Well, Ernest Saves Christmas is like a nostalgic favorite of mine. This one's badass.
I have to watch it this weekend.
It's like a dark, serious comedy on the nose. Very funny. I rented it on Amazon. It's fucking good. Mel Gibson is he takes this role so damn seriously. It's weird, but it's really good.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one.
It's a lot more serious than any other Christmas movie out there, and I mean that even compared to Die Hard. It's so weird. But you'll get the drift when you see it.
I think my favorite is Christmas Vacation. So the one with Chevy Chase, the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and the original animated The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Not the bullshit with Jim Carrey or that new one that they just made like 2 years ago. The original like 1960s version. That one is awesome. And Christmas Vacation, those are my two Christmas favorite movies.
What about Christmas at Pee-wee's?
Have not seen that one.
Pee-wee Herman, come on.
No, I saw like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Big Top Pee-wee, but I didn't realize Pee-wee made a Christmas movie.
I'm sure he made a Christmas one. I'm pretty again in New Zealand in the 90s. We got the leftovers, man. If it didn't do well over there, they sent it over to New Zealand.
Cycled it over there.
We all tuned in at 7:00 at night.
There you go. I haven't watched any of The Mandalorian. Star Wars kind of lost me when Disney took over and made like all the bullshit movies. 7, 8, and 9 completely everything about the Star Wars universe, in my opinion. So they when Disney took over, they pretty much fucked it up. I mean, they had this entire like 40 volume thing of like all this storyline that they've written about how Luke built the new Jedi Academy. Han and Leia were married. They had 3 kids. One of their kids turns to the dark side, and all this other stuff happens. There's an alien race that comes in, and Disney, when they came in and took over, they said, nope, fuck all that. All this work, all these authors have put in and had like the blessing of Lucasfilm and all that. They said, no, we don't need any of that. Here's this bullshit storyline that we're going to do and recycle everything from the original trilogy, but just make it 15 times worse. So Disney can piss off with Star Wars. I consider
episode 7. I didn't mind 7. 8 was borderline, but then 9, when he's like, oh, by the way, we all lied in the first 2, and this is like your fucking father and your grandfather or some shit. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
They tore my heart out in the first 5 minutes. I was going to leave, but I already paid that money for 3 hours. I was going to sit down.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they went into that whole trilogy they shit the bed. They had no clue of a comprehensive or a cohesive storyline, and the way they made Luke into the sniveling, whining dude. It's like that was no idea, nothing of what he was. And basically what they did, they made Anakin's story and Darth Vader's sacrifice and killing the Emperor completely null and void. Yeah. I mean, you've just shit on the original trilogy. And where they lost me in like episode 7 is where they said, when like Han shows up and they said, that was real? You beat the Empire? I'm like, what the fuck? They showed at the end of Return of the Jedi, they showed the entire galaxy celebrating. The fuck? You go, those stories are real? No, it just it was
to be fair, we are talking about the universe here. We are talking about not just I can imagine. Either way, I'm sorry. In episode 9, it was the rotten cherry on top that just ripped my nutsack off and shoved it down my throat. I'm sorry. The Sith Lord should not have returned. It was dumb as hell. Again, sacrifice is worthless.
Yep.
God damn it. And again, we had a babysitter that night. I would have preferred to sit there holding my baby crying for 3 hours than watch that. Fucking
Yeah.
Jesus.
No, I did not give Disney my money for Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker or whatever at 8 and 9. Where I saw 7, I thought I caught the cliff notes, and my brother saw 8 and 9. And he's watched The Mandalorian. He said it's great and it kind of redeems, like there's redemption for everybody. I'm not giving Disney any more of my money. I will be content to reread the Legends series of Star Wars, the 40 plus volumes that I have in paperback of all the real story of what happens with Luke.
I like Mandalorian is good. To what he said, Mandalorian it's slow, but that's the format. It's good. It's really good.
You know what? But recently, if you think about it, like, the old Christmas movies, probably as of 1920s to like, maybe the 90s, late 90s, those were the best Christmas movies, whether it's action or comedy or whatever. The more recent ones in the last 10 years, I don't even remember a good one, to be honest with you. I mean, nothing that came out that was like really good. And Robert, you just mentioned the one with Jim Carrey, Grinch. I remember actually going to the movie theater to watch that one, and that one was one of the very few movies. Because usually, even if I don't like the movie, I will force myself to finish it just to have an opinion on a movie. I couldn't handle it. Like I literally walked out of the movie theater, and it was just like one of the very few movies I've ever done it. That's how bad it was. I mean, just horrible.
Yep. Yeah, and I like Jim Carrey. I liked all of his 90s movies. All of those, and then he started getting weird, and I didn't like the Grinch, and so.
Yeah, you know what? If he stuck to what he was good at, all the dumb movies that he's made, like Ace Ventura and The Mask and all those, they were dumb, but they were genuinely funny. They were actually good. He was good at being dumb. And then he started like literally making those weird movies.
Number 23 and whatever else.
I feel like when you're like him, though, and money doesn't mean jack shit anymore because he's got a buttload of it, and he's sitting there. Because I remember when he did those dumb movies, what do you think people said? All he does is this dumb shit. He's an actor, and he like probably puts his heart and soul in this, and all they're saying is, "You just do dumb shit." So then he goes and does weird shit, and then they're like, "Well, go do the dumb shit again."
What interesting thing about Jim Carrey, that Jim Carrey's actually been around for many years. I think he's done soap operas and he's done a few drama films, a lot of made-for-TV movies. He's done a lot, but he wasn't popular. He was like barely anyone knew about him. And then he made Ace Ventura, and he just exploded. I mean, he became like an instant, sensation, overnight sensation. And he made those movies, and I think the problem with a lot of actors is that they're trying to bounce to doing something different, and it just doesn't work. Not everybody has the range to do movies like different, styles, from comedy to drama, etc. Very few, in fact. And I think that Jim Carrey just got weird.
I mean, if you're like him, though, and you've made enough money for 5 lifetimes, and you don't give two shits about anything, you know what? I might try and do a sad one. You know what? Fuck it. I'll play the Grinch. Let's see what it goes. Like, why not? Like, what? Why wouldn't you? He's got nothing else to do. He clearly doesn't care what people think. And then that's
like Adam Sandler. I mean, he made stupid movies, and then he tried to make a few serious movies, and now he's back to making like goofy ass movies just because he said, "I don't care. I'm just going to do what I want to."
His set of Netflix movies has been the weirdest. When they said Adam Sandler signed deal for like, was it 15 movies on Netflix or some shit?
That's how many it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
With those,
I haven't watched any of them, but yeah, damn.
No, but like the first one came out was similar to that 51st Dates one he did. It was just like average comedy. Then it was back to like stupid Adam Sandler. Then it was that weird one that he did with where he was like the loan. He did like the deals, the loan sharks or some shit. He's done just such the strangest variety. But again, why the fuck not? He just did 15 movies with Netflix. He ain't got about to do 15 dumb ones. He's gonna do 15 weird as shit, couple dumb ones. I mean, I wish I was in his position and had that much money. If I was stacked and I had that much money, Jesus Christ, I'll be writing about some weird ass products.
Speaking of movies, I actually meant to ask both of you, because I know Lukasz doesn't give a shit. What do you think about sequels to Top Gun and Coming to America? Both classics, both notoriously popular. Top Gun, both already done. I think Top Gun was filmed last year, but it was delayed because of COVID. I think it's being released in 21. And Coming to America 2, I believe, is being released, I think, in the next couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, I think on Netflix. And it has the full cast from the original.
You see, when I watched when I was growing up, and they did the 21 Jump Street remake with Channing
Tatum and Jonah Hill, yeah.
And and then they did the Superman and like Superman Returns with that, I can't remember that guy's fucking name.
Henry Cavill.
No, the one before that.
Oh, Brandon Routh.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And like when I saw those movies in my teens, my mum was like, "Oh wow, they're doing this again," and I just batted an eye. I was like, "Whatever." Those movies back then were shit. I ain't even seen them. Yeah. And I was like, "Whatever." She doesn't, and she'd say things like, "I remember this back in my day." I didn't care though, right? I was just like, "This is badass." And then she'd be like, "You try and watch the one with the original." I was like, "No, fuck off." All right. That's exactly what's happening now. They're bringing back all these movies, Ghostbusters, Top Gun, and people are like, "Oh, we did this back in the day." Kids now who are new to this are going to be like, "Shut up, old man. We're not going to watch that shit."
Yeah, but you know what? Important to note that this is not a remake. This is actually, both of them are sequels. And, with basically, Tom Cruise comes back in Top Gun and Eddie Murphy comes back in Coming to America. I mean, my daughter is 16, and when she saw Coming to America, she absolutely loved it. She can't wait for the sequel. For me personally, I'm very skeptical about both. Very skeptical, meaning I just don't believe that they're gonna be as good. And trust me, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that they gonna make shitload of money and they're gonna be amazing. I'm very, very skeptical. I think it's the different day and age. I think with political correctness and everything else, I just don't think that Eddie Murphy and company can get away with the same jokes. I just watched Beverly Hills Cop with my daughter at the first and the second one, and she loved it. And you know what? I was shocked because I haven't watched it in a long time. All the gay jokes and all those jokes that Eddie Murphy does. They're amazing. They will hilarious. There is no way he can get away with it today. There is no way. So Coming to America, it's basically essentially it's the same thing, unless you don't capitalize on what made you popular. I mean, I'm just very skeptical about the sequel. Like, how can it be good?
Yeah, the 80s were a magical time for movies.
I don't think there'll be sequels though. They'll be called sequels, but they're going to encapsulate it in its own storyline. So if you wouldn't have to see the others to understand it. There's no way it's going to be like, make sure you remember this from the first. It'll just be a introduction, plot, climax. It'll be very enclosed. But they're probably just using the name to draw in us old people.
Well, in your opinion, do you think, like, based on, because I'm sure you've seen both of them, in your opinion, will they be as good?
I think
it's based on it's like an age thing though, like James Bond. You feel like James Bond from the 60s, there's no shitting way you're going to like the Daniel Craig one, which is like the scientific over-the-top plot that is this day and age, right? Someone back then would have watched this one and be like, this is fucking weird. And I watched the Sean Connery and I'm like, that's fucking lame, right? So they have to switch it up because it's a different age and you've got information at tips of your fingers and people's attention spans are shorter. Cutscenes back in the 50s and 60s were like fucking 20, 30 seconds long. Now they're like half a second, 3 seconds. It's insane. So I think you can't have the same jokes because they won't land as well. They need to be a fine blend between old and now. Otherwise, they're not going to land with new audiences, and us old people are going to hate them. So they have to combine, I think, a middle ground. Because if it doesn't hit with the new age, if it hits with old people, no one's going to give a shit. But if it hits with the up and coming audience, you'll probably get a sequel. You did hit with them more than us. For us, I think it's just they actually probably added Coming to America 2, added the 2 at the end, just so me and you were like, ooh, a sequel. I remember the first one, and it's going to have nothing to do with the first one, except for the characters. I don't know. Yeah. I think it needs a different audience and pitch. Otherwise, you just won't. Like supplements. Something back in the 90s ain't going to hit well with us now.
Right. Top Gun holds a special place in my heart. It's one of like my top 10 80s action movies. And so I think if this were remade 20 years ago, like in the early 2000s when Tom Cruise was going through his weird period, I think it would be terrible. Kind of like Mission Impossible 2 was horrible. But now, like, he's made Mission Impossible 4, 5, and 6, and he's like back to making really good action movies. I think this one stands a chance. But I mean, I love the original Top Gun. There's just something magical about 80s action movies that I don't think you're going to be able to replicate it in the 2020s, because most of the movies today, they're over the top or they're like lacking. The only decent action movies these days, outside of like the Avengers series and that Marvel Cinematic Universe, have been the Mission Impossible movies. All the other action movies just kind of suck. It's like shaky cam all over the place. It's not like one steady action shot where you can actually see people fighting and you have a good glance on it. They're all like Bourne Identity, where it's jumping and you can't even see what the fuck's going on. So that's what I'm kind of hoping it goes back, and because are they bringing back who's directing and producing it? Do they have one of the Scotts doing it? Because I know Tony Scott did, but
I don't think so. And I think Val Kilmer, they're still keeping it as a secret. He might be making a guest appearance, but they
dropped about 60 pounds.
Yeah, especially the way he looks right now, I don't think it's gonna do any justice.
No, but I mean, I think Tom Cruise is kept in shape, and he's still kicking ass at pushing 60 years old. So I just hope they don't kill him off or make him like in some like recluse or whine ass or something like that. I just don't like neuter the character like they did with Luke Skywalker in the new trilogy.
The one thing I hate, like Expendables 3. Like, I loved Expendables 1, 2. I was like, this is the shit. And then 3, you saw what they were going to do. They're like, okay, these guys are old. Let's bring them into the new audience. Translated it over to like a younger group that didn't have the charisma, didn't have the chops, looked like shit, and then we didn't see a fourth one.
Right. Mel Gibson was an awesome bad guy in that one, man. He was awesome.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was a bad guy. Oh, man. I just hate when they do that obvious transition and us people are like, this sucks. These kids are useless. Yep. Where's the comrade? It just didn't work. No. I would hate to see that with Top Gun. I mean, Tom Cruise still looked fucking 40 anyway. Who the hell cares?
Yeah. The John Wick films were great. I wasn't as nuts about the third one, I don't think, but I like the first two a lot.
I liked all of them. Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah, they were really cool.
I still couldn't believe that.
I think they're making number 4 now.
Mm-hmm.
Or soon, something like that.
You saw the third one with the dogs?
Yeah.
I watched that and I was like, these dogs are fucking real. This is insane. How the hell do they make them do this? And then like me and my wife looked it up online. There was like a whole 3-month training period of John Wick, the dogs, and I'm like, oh my god, these dogs are actually, I thought they were computer generated.
Yeah.
Like how fast they moved and shit. Nope, they were 100% real. Unbelievable.
Yeah, everything that was done in the 70s, 80s, 90s, like especially the action movies, they were a little bit more realistic. I think that's the reason why during the filming of Cyborg, Van Damme in one of the scenes actually took one of the stuntman's eyes. So they actually ended up paying a lot of money to the guy because they tried to make the fight choreography so realistic. And actually, there was a French actor in the 70s, 80s. He's still alive, very, very popular. I don't know if you know him because he made this movie called The Professional. His name is Jean-Paul Belmondo. Yep. So that movie was like an international hit. I mean, it's a really amazing movie. One of the best music scores I've ever heard. And he was actually, either he was a professional boxer or amateur boxer before he started, but he was like a real good athlete. So all the stunts in the movies, he was really performing them like for real. He never had a stunt double or anything like that. But what he would do right now, that would be completely illegal. He was notorious for going and getting, homeless people and paying them money to beat them up on the screen for real. So he would pay people money, that he would punch them in the face for real. It was like, he's done it with a few movies. I mean, right now, I just can't possibly think that flying.
That could fly.
You think
pay
so?
Me put me on the screen and punch me in the face. It'd be fantastic.
I think a lot of guys would agree, but I think you would get sued and shit, like all the legal shit that would come up.
Just sign the agreement. Just, don't kill me. I don't know. I remember when I did, because I worked ages ago, I did extra work on that TV show Spartacus. Mm-hmm. And those guys in there, the stunt doubles in there, god damn it, man. They do. They take the punches, they take the hits, they do it on purpose, and they do it because they're like, well, if I'm a better stunt double, maybe I'll get in the limelight and stuff like that. and they push themselves to do that. So you probably wouldn't even have to pay them. Just be like, hey, I'll put you in another scene if you get a punch in the face. Guaranteed. In Hollywood, they would be like, hell, it's just, I guess you don't want to ask someone. Just be like, hey, will you take a punch in the face? And then on Twitter, oh my God, this guy asked me to get punched in the face. This is unbelievable. And then the backlash and blah, blah, blah. But if you ask the right guy,
Oh, there would a lot of people, I think, would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. We need more roids as well. We need more roids from the 80s.
Well, yeah, and that's
Rocky.
one thing I liked about all the 80s movies, or like the 70s, 80s. They didn't have all the special effects and like the CGI stuff. And like even if you go back and like Shane, you mentioned Expendables 3, that movie's 7 or 8 years old now. But still, the CGI, you can tell the explosions don't look nearly as good as an authentic as like you go back and watch like Rambo 2 or Predator or something like that. And those are actual explosions that, the real effects versus like the CGI nonsense that there's an over reliance on that today.
They run out of the explosives left over on the wall. So maybe they have to generate it now. That's probably another thing, though. I think you can't just set off a bomb. I do admit, though, the best explosion I had seen for a while was in Dark Knight when Joker blew up that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That was badass. That was real. And
Yeah.
when they flipped that truck, oh my God, that was insane. I was like, you guys actually fucking, and you could watch it. You're like, you blew up a goddamn building.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And I remember watching the behind the scenes. They're like, we got one chance. This is gonna blow up. Right. You missed this. We can't do it twice. I was like,
that's what
shit.
makes some movies good, like the authenticity. You actually see the stuff blow up, the actual real explosions. That's what makes it worthwhile, not just little computer stuff. Because especially if like that stuff does not age well.
Fast and the Furious as well. They do it. They do it real. I mean, obviously not the part where they drop the cars out of the sky and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
When they flip the safe through the building, when they smash the cars, I'm like, God damn it! Here's me with a shitty ass car, and you're just blowing them up. Unbelievable. Anyway,
Outstanding, awesome, gentlemen. Let's put a bow on this package and put it under the Christmas tree. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, with this. If you like what we're doing, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments, questions for future episodes, make sure to shoot us an email, DM, whatever. Send any nasty pictures to Robbie at apollonnutrition.com.
Technical supplement questions can go to me.
Yes. In-depth supplement explainers, please go to Shane. Expired stimulants, please send to Uncle Lukasz. And we will see you all next time on The Final Scoop.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry